Will fossil fuels, the lifeblood of modern civilization, really vanish within the next 20 years? Or are we clinging to an impossible dream, blinded by green promises that can't keep the lights on? Politicians swear it's inevitable. Activists say it's our only chance. Oil companies insist it's a fantasy. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The answer to this debate will shape whether humanity thrives or collapses. Right now, energy is the invisible thread holding civilization together. From charging your phone to flying planes to growing the food on your plate, it all traces back to power. Fossil fuels currently supply about 80% of that power. And here's the tension. Scientists warn that burning them at this pace is destabilizing the planet, but removing them too quickly risks collapsing the very systems that sustain our way of life. On one side, we hear renewables are advancing faster than anyone predicted. Solar, wind, and storage are getting cheaper every year. Nations are setting bold deadlines: 2030, 2040, 2050. The story, fossil fuels are dying. But flip the coin, and critics argue this is wishful thinking. Fossil fuels are still deeply embedded in everything: steel, cement, aviation, shipping, even the fertilizers feeding billions. Can we really rip them out in 2 decades without breaking the machine? Here's what makes today's debate thrilling. Both sides have evidence, both sides claim urgency, and both sides can't be right. Somewhere in this messy middle lies the truth. In this video, we're not just asking whether fossil fuels should be phased out. We're asking whether it's actually realistic to pull it off within 20 years. Let's start with the optimistic case, the argument that fossil fuels could realistically be gone within 20 years. Supporters of this view point to 3 undeniable trends: unstoppable economics, unstoppable innovation, and unstoppable pressure from society itself. Think back just a decade. Experts scoffed at the idea that renewables could compete with coal or gas. But the cost of solar power has plummeted by over 80% since 2010. Wind is down more than 50%. In many parts of the world, building new renewable plants is now cheaper than simply running existing coal stations. Imagine this. It's like smartphones versus landlines. Once smartphones got cheaper and more useful, landlines didn't just decline slowly. They practically vanished from homes within a decade. Supporters argue the same fate awaits fossil fuels. The economic tide is turning. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. That used to be the killer argument. Not anymore. Advances in battery technology are making renewable energy available 24/7. Gigafactories are scaling up production, and new chemistries, like solid-state batteries, promise longer life and faster charging. And it's not just batteries. Engineers are experimenting with hydrogen storage, compressed air systems, even giant water reservoirs that act as natural batteries. The point? Our ancestors solved problems with candles and coal. Today, humanity is engineering solutions at lightning speed. Look around. Governments are setting targets to hit net zero by mid-century. Some countries, like Norway, already have over 80% of new cars sold as electric. China, the world's biggest polluter, is also the biggest builder of renewables. Trillions of dollars are being poured into green infrastructure. The argument here is simple. Once the world sets its mind to something, change can come shockingly fast. Remember how quickly the world shifted during World War II? Entire economies retooled overnight. Factories went from making cars to making tanks, planes, and weapons. Advocates believe the climate crisis is this generation's world war, and the energy transition will be just as dramatic. Critics warn we're still underestimating just how hard it will be to kill fossil fuels in 20 years. Yes, renewables are surging, but so is global demand for energy. Billions of people in developing nations are entering the middle class, buying cars, installing AC units, and consuming more than ever. That demand explosion risks outpacing clean energy growth. Worse, the fossil fuel industry isn't just going to pack up and quit. It's still backed by trillions in subsidies, powerful lobbying, and decades of infrastructure designed around oil, gas, and coal. As one critic put it, you can't just delete 150 years of energy systems with a press release. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Fossil fuels aren't just about electricity. They're baked into the bones of civilization. Oil powers 95% of global transport. Natural gas produces the fertilizer that feeds nearly half the world's crops. Coal still dominates steel and cement production, the literal foundations of cities. Even if every car went electric tomorrow, we'd still be addicted. This is the part green narratives often leave out. Energy isn't just about switching light bulbs. It's about the hidden fuel running through every factory, shipyard, and farm. Pull that out too quickly, and entire economies could collapse. Picture this. The world has over 1.4 billion cars, most of them running on gasoline. There are pipelines stretching millions of kilometers, refineries built over a century, and power plants designed to last 40 to 50 years. You can't just unplug them. These are sunk investments worth trillions, and governments, especially in poorer nations, can't afford to throw them away overnight. It's like owning a house with a 30-year mortgage. Even if someone invents a futuristic home tomorrow, you're still paying off the one you already live in. That's how countries see fossil infrastructure, too expensive to abandon quickly. Switching to renewables requires a massive supply of minerals: lithium for batteries, cobalt for storage, rare earth metals for wind turbines. But mining these at scale creates a new environmental and geopolitical headache. Most of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where child labor and dangerous conditions fuel supply chains. Lithium mines scar landscapes and consume scarce water in dry regions. Critics warn, are we just trading one form of environmental damage, fossil fuels, for another we don't want to talk about? And if supply chains choke, the entire transition could stall. In wealthy nations, it's easy to dream of an all-renewable future. But what about countries still struggling with poverty, where millions lack even basic electricity? Telling them to leapfrog straight to green energy can sound like telling someone with no shoes to buy the latest sneakers. These nations argue, we used fossil fuels to get rich. Now you want us to stop before we've had our turn? This is the justice dilemma. The global south needs affordable, reliable energy today, not in 2050. And fossil fuels are often still the cheapest, most accessible option. Unless rich nations step up with trillions in support, critics say the green transition will remain a privilege of the wealthy. So here's where the debate sharpens. On one side, the dreamers. They say fossil fuels are dinosaurs and renewables are sprinting ahead. On the other side, the pragmatists. They argue the world is too locked in, too divided, too dependent. Both sides are armed with compelling evidence, and both can't be right. Which brings us to the burning question: what happens if we bet wrong? Here's the gut punch. If we assume fossil fuels will die in 20 years and they don't, we could face runaway climate breakdown, floods swallowing cities, droughts crippling agriculture, mass migration, and economic chaos. But if we assume they won't die and keep investing in oil and coal, we could waste trillions and lock ourselves into a doomed system.
The real danger isn't just choosing the wrong side. It's failing to act with urgency and honesty. The transition will be harder, messier, and slower than activists promise, but faster and more disruptive than fossil industries admit. The question isn't whether change is coming, it's whether we'll be ready or blindsided. So, here we are, 20 years on the clock. Will humanity really pull off the greatest energy transition in history? Or are we fooling ourselves with a green illusion? Because this debate isn't abstract. It's not just about governments and corporations. It's about you, the power you use, the choices you make, the world your children will inherit. Fossil fuels built the modern world, but they're also burning its future. Can we escape them fast enough? That's the defining question of our time. Now it's your turn. Do you believe fossil fuels can realistically be phased out within the next 2 decades? Or is that just wishful thinking that ignores the hard truths? Drop your perspective in the comments below. I want to hear arguments from both sides. What gives you hope? What makes you skeptical? And what do you think the world is still not facing honestly enough? If this video challenged your assumptions, don't let the conversation stop here. Hit subscribe to join us for more mind-opening debates every week. Share this with a friend who loves a good argument or who needs to hear one, because the truth isn't settled and the only way forward is to keep questioning. After all, the future isn't written yet. The next 20 years, they're up for debate.